India have been one of the leading countries for fintech innovation and disruption, a large underserved and aspirational customer base, supportive regulatory climate, flourishing talent pool, increasing access to capital and remarkable public digital infrastructure, India's tech and have played significant roles in the swift growth of fintechs in India. Several factors have fueled India's phenomenal fintech growth over the past few years. These include ease of doing business enabled through the government and regulators, pro-business policies, interest by both domestic and international risk capital providers in the Indian fintech landscape, and the growth of smartphone, mobile, and internet penetration over the last few years. The existing regulations are too varied and may seem complicated considering the diversity in fintech business models. However, Indian regulators have occasionally brought in regulations that have kept pace with innovations in the fintech space and put India on a global map when it comes to establishing an up-to-date regulatory regime governing fintechs. The objective of this conference is to throw light on the complex compliance mandates that demand more time, effort, and resources from organizations. Here, experts will share their insights on how to navigate the increasing regulatory complexity and minimizing the overheads arising from compliance efforts. Importantly, establishing a strong security posture with new age tech, along with building best practices to enable fintech companies and enabling a cashless ecosystem. So, ladies and gentlemen, to remind you to please make sure you leave your feedback at the end of the evening, because your feedback is very, very valuable to us and it also helps us in the future event. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope everybody is ready. So let's begin this evening. And to get started, ladies and gentlemen, I would request everybody to please put your hands together and please welcome on stage for the welcome note, Mr. Sunil Rajguru, editor, Data Quest, PC Quest, and CIOL. He has extensively worked in technology, news, features, and ecology domains. Ladies and gentlemen, he's right here with us. Let's put our hands together and please welcome Mr. Sunil Rajguru. Over to Mr. Sunil Rajguru.
So, welcome everyone. It's great to have you here. I mean, I think the pandemic is now way behind us and we are doing such meets regularly. So before we dive deep into compliance, which all of you are experts, I'll just give a brief overview of what I think is how, we are using our demographic dividends to be a fintech superpower. Now, if 7 years back, if you said that India would be the fintech superpower of the world, not many people would believe it. But I believe that we are firmly on that path right now. And if you look at the Indian fintech ecosystem, it's like, it's like an onion. You have one layer after another. You keep peeling it and you have one layer after another, which is complementing and supplementing each other. First of all, when you talk of the financial system, any financial system, the first thing is inclusion. You have 1.4 billion people. How do you include everyone into the system? So the first thing is identification. How do you identify everyone in a correct and proper manner? And I think we have taken Aadhaar for granted. The Aadhaar system, it's like no democracy in the world has succeeded. The US failed, UK failed, and we talk of China. China is still a dictatorship. Aadhaar is a voluntary system, and it is the largest voluntary identification system in the world, and it has worked. We take it for granted, but it is a lesson for the world. And also, if you see, it is not just mere identification. The next step is authentication. And that is also where Aadhaar has succeeded to a great extent. Because whether it's your thumbprint, whether it's your OTP, whether it's the DigiLocker, the identification, authentication, we have got it right with 1.4 billion people. That's no mean task. And then the next stage of inclusion is bank accounts. I mean, again, 10, 15 years back, half of India, in fact, even today, a good chunk of the world do not have access to bank accounts. And thanks to the Jan Dhan Yojana, hundreds of millions of bank accounts have been opened. If you look at the last 8 years, the developments that have taken place in the fintech, maybe it has taken place in no other country in the world. So, and if you look, it's not just that we have got the Aadhaar authentication, Jan Dhan Yojana, right? If you remember the computer revolution, it missed rural India. The laptop revolution, it missed revolution India, but not so the smartphones. Because that's another thing of financial inclusion in banks. If you don't have access to your bank on a regular basis, it's of no use. But today the smartphone is with you all the time, so everybody has. So we take it for, in cities we know, but villages have been transformed with the fintech technology. And if you see, it's why is all this working? Again, it's because of India Stack. So we are the largest population in the world, we have the largest identification program, and we also have the largest open AI network in the world. India Stack, it's quite interesting that the experts know it, but very few common citizens know about India Stack, which is the largest open AI network in the world. The West has nothing that can compare to India Stack. And it's already delivering the goods. I mean, the first layer is UPI. Again, that's another thing we have taken for granted. If you look 6-7 years back, India was nowhere in UPI kind of payments. But if you look at the 6-7 years, the way, first it was third, second, then it's first. It's no longer news that it's first. Now UPI type payments have surpassed China and US combined. We have become a giant. UPI in some form or another is in 30 countries. And here's the interesting part. The US is going to launch UPI this year. It's called Fed Now. They had a Fed Pay, which is the conventional banking, but they're UPI. So it is unbelievable that this is where US stands and this is where India stands. We launched UPI, which is, greater than the second or third company, and they're thinking of launching Fed Now this year. And again, it doesn't end there. The next layer is, you would have heard of the Open Network for Digital Commerce, ONDC. That's the next layer. That is what is creating waves right now. And in fact, I don't know how many of you have used Nammayatri. So Nammayatri in Bangalore is a product of ONDC. And the best part about ONDC, against sky is unmet. You want to make a mobile sharing app, you want to make a dating app, you want to make an e-commerce site, ONDC is going to do anything. And I feel the next layer is going to be even greater for the fintech industry is account aggregation. Account aggregation is also something which people talk about. That's going to bring uniformity. But again, we are ready. The Indian aggregator network was launched a few years back. It's just a matter of that we are going in the critical phase. So I feel that we are in the perfect storm. This is the first time, if you look at the government, you look at the banks, you look at the BFSI, you look at the fintech startups, we are in the perfect storm to become the fintech global superpower of the world. Now you may talk of China, but China has two problems. One, it's not voluntary, and second, it works in China, but not many people trust the Chinese system. And that is why something like, if China launches UPI, you won't find many countries adopting it. But UPI, as I said, it's already being adopted in some form or other in 30 countries. And it could go 60, 70 countries. So this is where we are. And I think it's been a long journey. I'm from DataQuest. We launched in 82. We recently completed 40 years. And if you look at the 80s and 90s, there was hardly any fintech. Fintech began with the National Telecom Policy of 94. And since then, it's been going at a great speed. And especially after the pandemic, it's reached critical mass. So I think it's great to see experts like you who are going to make this happen. The government has an India 2047 mission, and I'm sure that we are going to become the fintech superpower in the world. So that's the overview. Obviously, all of you are experts. You will go deep into compliance. Don't know much at the micro level, so I'm looking forward to listening to all of you. Thank you.